There's a condition out there that's one of the most common reasons people are admitted to a neurology ward, but for some reason, it's still widely misunderstood. It's this incredible puzzle right at the intersection of the brain and the body, and it's kind of been hiding in plain sight.
All right, so let me ask you a quick question. When you think about why someone would need to be in a neurology ward, what pops into your head? I'm guessing things like stroke or epilepsy, right? Yeah, those are the big ones. But what do you think is number 3, the third most common reason? The answer? Well, it's probably not what you're expecting.
And the answer is functional neurological disorder, FND for short. And get this, data from a huge study shows FND accounts for a staggering 4.7% of all inpatient neurology cases. To put that in perspective, in that hospital setting, that made it more common than diagnoses like multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's disease. That's a huge number.
Okay, so what in the world is this surprisingly common disorder? Well, probably the best way to get your head around it is with a simple analogy. Think of it as a problem with the brain's software, not its hardware. So here's the deal. FND is where a person has very, very real neurological symptoms. We're talking about things like paralysis, tremors, even seizures. But, and this is the key part, the cause isn't something you can see on a standard brain scan like a stroke or a tumor. The hardware of the brain is intact. Instead, it's a problem with how the nervous system is functioning. The software, the code that's running everything, has a glitch.
And these software glitches, man, they can show up in all sorts of ways. Someone might suddenly experience weakness or even paralysis in a limb. They might have uncontrollable tremors or movements. They could have events that look exactly like epileptic seizures but aren't. And it's not just movement. It could be numbness, balance problems, or that feeling of intense brain fog. And I want to be super clear here. These symptoms are absolutely real and can be incredibly disabling.
And that brings me to the single most important and most damaging misconception about FND. Let's just get this out of the way right now. This is not faking. It's not all in their head. The symptoms are completely involuntary. It is a world away from what's called malingering, where someone might deliberately fake an illness for some kind of gain. With FND, the symptoms are genuine, they're distressing, and they are not under the person's conscious control. All right, so if there's no physical damage to the brain's hardware, and we know for a fact that the person isn't faking it, how does this even happen? How can a perfectly healthy brain suddenly produce paralysis? Well, modern neuroscience actually gives us a really powerful way to understand this paradox. It all starts with this fundamental idea: your brain is a prediction machine. Seriously, every single second of every day, it's making its best guess about what's going to happen next. It predicts what the floor will feel like under your feet before you take a step. It predicts the taste of your morning coffee before you even sip it. It's constantly building a model of reality based on everything it's learned before.
But what happens when that prediction engine goes haywire? Well, a leading theory called the Bayesian brain model suggests a kind of 3-step process for FND. First, for some reason, maybe past trauma or intense focus on a sensation, the brain makes an unusually strong prediction, something like, my arm is going to feel weak. Second, this prediction becomes so loud, so powerful, that it actually shouts down the real signals coming from the arm. And third, this is the mind-blowing part, the brain's best guess becomes the body's reality. The prediction of weakness becomes actual weakness. The prediction of a tremor becomes a real tremor.
And this isn't just some fun idea. Researchers are really digging into this. As one team put it recently, FND symptoms can be seen as the direct result of the brain's inaccurate predictions. It's a genuine processing error, a glitch where the brain's internal map gets disconnected from the territory of the body. Okay, so we've got a common condition. We have a solid scientific model starting to explain it. You'd think, right, that this would be a major focus for the healthcare system. But it's often not. And the reason why reveals a really troubling, kind of hidden problem that's baked right into the system itself.
Which leads to this massive question, right? If FND is this common, number 3 in neurology wards, why is it so often neglected? Why is there so little training on it, so few specialized services, and not nearly enough research funding? Well, as they say, you gotta follow the money.
Just look at this. It's from that German study, and it's pretty stark. It shows the daily revenue a hospital gets for treating an FND case versus what it gets for all other neurological conditions. And you don't have to be a data scientist to see the difference there. The FND cases are all clustered way, way down at the bottom.
And here's the bottom line, the jaw-dropping number.
The researchers figured out that giving a patient the accurate diagnosis of FND generated, on average, 16% less daily revenue for the hospital. Let that sink in for a second. There is a direct financial penalty for making the correct diagnosis. That is wild.
And the study's authors, they don't pull any punches. They say this financial setup directly discourages doctors and hospitals from accurately coding the diagnosis. And you can see the vicious cycle here, right? Inaccurate coding leads to underreporting, which makes the condition seem less common than it actually is, which then justifies less funding and fewer services. It's a self-feeding cycle of neglect, all driven by the billing system.
Okay, I know that sounds pretty bleak, but here's the good news. When you can actually see the problem, you can start to fix it. So let's talk about what good care actually looks like and how we can begin to break this cycle. The solution isn't one doctor or one magic pill. The absolute key is teamwork. It takes a whole coordinated team of different specialists who all understand the condition. It starts with a neurologist making a confident diagnosis, but it has to include a whole network of people who get it and, most importantly, who validate the patient's experience, who say, "We believe you. This is real." So the FND Dream Team looks something like this. You need neurologists for the diagnosis. You need psychiatrists and psychologists to help with coping strategies and address any underlying factors. And then you absolutely need physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech therapists who can help literally retrain the brain's predictive software. It's all about treating the whole person, mind and body, because with FND, you absolutely cannot separate the two. So here's where we land. We have a condition, FND, that is common, it is real, and it is treatable. We also know that it's often pushed to the side, not because of a lack of science, but because of broken systems and financial disincentives. So the big question, the one we're all left with, patients, doctors, policymakers, all of us, is pretty simple. Now that we can see the cycle, what are we going to do to break it?